Good morning, everyone. Welcome to News Center Maine's Political Brew. Glad you could be with us. We're joined this morning by Ray Richardson of WLOB Radio and attorney Ken Altshuler. Gentlemen, good to see you again.
Good being here.
You as well.
Republicans at the State House now want $850 relief checks sent out as soon as possible, even though some other Republicans, such as Paul LePage, has said it's a bad idea. Ray, let me start with you. What's the political calculus here?
Well, it's funny you bring this up because Governor LePage was in my studio on Wednesday for 90 minutes, and this came up. And we both agree the $850 checks are not the right way to go, that what we should be doing is cutting the income tax. We disagree. Governor LePage says Republicans should not vote for this at all. I think Republicans should get on board and put it right through with emergency powers. These checks or electronic transfers can go out in June. And I think it won't have the political impact that Governor Mills is hoping for. If they let it drag out, the session's over in April, then they can't, it takes effect sometime in July. These checks get out during the fall campaign and, maybe it picks up some votes for her. So, look, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't on this. It's a bad idea, but I would give it emergency powers and get it over with as quickly as I could.
Ken?
This is one of those issues that Ray and I agree on. I don't like sending checks to people. I think they deserve it, but I think reducing the income tax is a much better long-range goal. I do also agree with Ray that the sooner they send them out, the better for Republicans. I will point out that Governor Mills in her State of the State speech actually acknowledged the Republicans for kind of initiating this proposal. So I'm surprised she did that. It may be strategic for her to do it, but it's certainly getting those checks, make people happy, will cause people to vote for her. And if it's later in the season, it's smarter politically speaking. I think they'll probably go out in July, but that's still pretty early. So I think it benefits both. I think Republicans have to get on board because politically speaking, you have to do that.
And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, most people never object to you sending them money.
Correct. True.
Once you get that check. Now, there's an awful lot on the table with just about 3 weeks left in this session of the Maine legislature. That includes added funding for nursing homes, direct care workers, behavioral health. There's also money to compensate landowners for PFAS chemical contamination, among other things. And estimated, Ken, there's about $20 million left for any new programs being voted on, which all added up could cost more than $1 billion. So how do you see this unfolding in the last few weeks?
Well, smoke and mirrors is how you see this unfolding. This is another reason why just sending checks back may not be a great idea. I do agree with Ray, dropping the income tax rate would be great. But if you're not going to do that, now you have money to spend on some of those programs. They certainly won't all pass. There are some, for example, the testing the land for chemical contamination is huge and has a price tag alone of something like $100 million just to get started. So we can't do everything, and that's the problem. And I do worry that Democrats will overreach and pass legislation that we can't afford. I think Jenna Mills hopefully will keep control over that, but Democrats do tend to spend more than we have in the coffers, assuming next year we'll pay for it. And I think that's a mistake. At least
we may well see bills passed that there is no funding for, and then what happens? They just sit there and never get enacted or never go into effect.
Correct.
Yeah, they die on the appropriations table because they don't get funded. I think Ken's right. There's a lot of craziness here. We'll see what happens with Governor Mills, what I'll call the Central Maine Power Bill, where they're trying to figure out stronger powers for the PUC and also giving an option for CMP to be potentially bought out, which I think is one of the craziest things Maine's ever thought of. That's just an opinion, of course, but I believe it to be true. We'll see. I had Mike Shepard on from the Bangor Daily News this morning, and he thinks they're going to get out pretty much on time. There'll be a mad scramble, as there always is at the end. Some bad decisions will be made. Some good decisions will be made. But more importantly, around the 21st of April, the people will be safe again. The legislature's out of session.
One of the things lawmakers did this past week was move to allow all Maine communities that don't have charters to institute ranked choice voting or other forms of runoffs as they wish to settle elections. I know you're not a fan of ranked choice voting, Ray, but is it a good idea to let the smaller towns and cities have an option?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think ranked choice voting is a fraud on the people of Maine. Even now, people don't understand it. If getting to 50% is so important, why don't we do what a lot of places do? Take the top two people in the election, if there's not a 50% winner, and let them run off 30 to 45 days later. You could do that easily. They run a mini campaign. This ranked choice voting thing, I mean, you saw it happen in Portland. It came down to pulling a name out of a salad bowl, for God's sakes. I just think this is such a bad idea.
Ken?
So first, I am a big fan of ranked choice voting. We won't have that debate today, but I think it's not hard to pick your second choice and your third choice. I think if you made it through grade school, you should be able to do that. What happened in Portland happened because there were so many candidates, and that will happen on occasion. But most of the time, the leader in the first round of balloting wins the runoff, which is what should happen. That doesn't really matter with pertinent to this question, though, because every local municipality and community should have the power to do what they can do on the local level. We're not saying you have to do ranked choice voting. We're saying if you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But it's your decision, not the state of Maine. And I have to believe Ray believes that local control beats state control.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But I am so thankful you've explained why I don't get this. I was the only kid in my class who got paddled in kindergarten and first grade. So I had a hard time with grade school.
That doesn't surprise me, Ray. That doesn't surprise me one bit.
It's a sad tale. Turning to Washington in this segment, the Senate held 4 days of confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Ken, what are your takeaways from what you saw this past week?
Ray and I talked about this a few weeks, and the good old days when you could pass a Senate by a 97-0 vote on a Supreme Court nomination. Those days are long gone. The personal attacks upon her. I mean, you're talking about, frankly, Republicans who want to run for president, and they're going to make the law and order issue. They're going to try and tie her with the Democrats and saying she's not a law and order candidate any more than Democrats are. That's going to be their theme or one of their themes. And they're using her as an example. She's going to get confirmed. She's going to get confirmed not 50-50. I think Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski are going to vote for her, as they should. She's qualified, more than qualified. And when you have Lindsey Graham, who voted for her last confirmation a few months ago and is now saying she has serious doubts with her, that is only political in nature. It's very unfortunate, but it is the nature of Supreme Court nominations now.
Ray, is this soft on crime stuff going to stick to her, or is it really just about the fall?
No, I think it does stick to her a little bit because the answers she gave, and it's unfortunate they didn't provide the probationary recommendations that she said were the basis of her decisions, particularly on the child porn cases. Look, I think she's very engaged. I said this on my show. I think she's very engaging, very smart. I would love to have a cup of coffee with her. I was frankly profoundly disappointed that she would not define what a woman was for this reason. Obviously, she knows what a woman is. We're celebrating that she's a Black woman nominated to the court. But that was a political answer on her part. It was not a judicial answer. And so it says that maybe she will dance a little politically. I know they all do. We just don't like it. And so that was disappointing. But I agree with Ken. I think she'll get some Republican votes and we'll move on.
President Biden joined NATO leaders at an emergency summit in Brussels to talk about the war in Ukraine and to impose new sanctions on Russia. He also was in Poland to meet with troops and to talk with aid workers and meet with some refugees as well. A former Secretary of Defense, Bill Cohen, told us this week that keeping the NATO alliance unified is not going to be easy because we have yet to feel the full effects of sanctions, not just on Russia, but on the world economy. Ray, what kind of grade do you give President Biden for the way he's negotiating and navigating all of this?
Honestly, and I know this is going to sound partisan, but I really gave a very detailed explanation on my show where I have 4 hours to do that. I think the president has failed. We are in chaos from a foreign policy standpoint. He was in Brussels yesterday the other day saying sanctions don't work. They were never a deterrent after his administration went on for months about how it was a deterrent. I think the biggest thing that American people ought to be concerned about is that Vladimir Putin and Xi in China, what America thinks about what they're doing appears to be no consideration whatsoever for them. And that's a frightening place, not only for our country, but for the world. Every leader in the world ought to be concerned about what America thinks. And I just don't believe right now they are.
Ken?
This will shock you. I'm giving Joe Biden an A. I think he's doing an excellent job. My criticism was he was a little slow to stop the oil imports from Russia. But he's doing the right things, saying the right things. Going to Poland was imperative because Poland is frankly next in line if Russia's advance isn't halted. So I think he's doing exactly the right thing. Actually, the approval ratings, not his overall approval rating, his approval rating for his handling has gone up to almost 50%, which is not a shock that that's where it's at. I'm not sure what else he can can do or say, I think that he's doing everything right. He's increasing the military support of Ukraine. We're not doing flyovers, which is the smart thing to do. And I think NATO gets stronger by this. I don't think he get weaker. And I wonder what would happen if Donald Trump had his wishes and NATO was dismantled prior to when this happened.
I got to respond to that because that's not
Sure.
what Donald Trump wanted. Ken, you know that. He just wanted the NATO partners. No, he was very clear. He did not want to dismantle NATO. He wanted them to pay the 2% of their GDP as they promised. And according to, is it Stoltenberger, the secretary there, he said Donald Trump got the NATO nations to pay another $100 billion. Trump was very clear. He did not want to dismantle NATO.
From a foreign policy point of view, he was viewed as anti-NATO, and that was dangerous and would have been dangerous today. You're right, it's about money, but it also was a very negative support of NATO, and right now we have to be in support of NATO.
Madeleine Albright died this past week. She was the first woman to serve as U.S. Secretary of State, and not surprisingly, all great leaders, she had Maine ties, having been a protege and a top aide to Senator Ed Muskie, and then a national security partner with Secretary of Defense Bill Cohen in the Clinton cabinet. Albright's life as an immigrant fleeing persecution in Eastern Europe, coming here and rising to lofty heights, is a great American story. And Ken, maybe the kind of thing we should be more focused on.
Spot on, Pat. I mean, this is what we should be talking about, these kind of success stories. What a great story she had. She came from, as you said, immigration, and she rose to the top ranks of government. I think she was respected by virtually everyone. I've heard very little negative to be said about her. Of course, she was primarily in the Bill Clinton administration, and that was a time that Republicans and Democrats worked better together, even when they didn't agree. So I think she got the benefit of that. But you're right, Pat. Let's talk about the positives sometimes, and I'm glad we're doing that this morning.
And Ray, we talked about this a couple of days ago on your program, and I know you feel that same way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I say this every single day on my show. America is the one place that you can come to, and if you want to be an American, you can be. You can't go to China and become Chinese. You can't go to France and become French, or you can't go to Japan and become Japanese. But if you want to be an American, you want to be a part of who we are, you can be an American. It is a wonderful American story. And as I said to you, Pat, I mean, she's a big star. She was on the Gilmore Girls, for God's sakes.
That's our new benchmark. All right, let's wrap up with our winners and losers in politics this week. And Ray, we'll start with you.
I've got to say the loser so far has been Joe Biden. I hope and I pray, and I do pray for the president every single day, that the president will find the kind of guidance that he needs and the wisdom he needs. We're not doing enough. I do not believe we need boots on the ground. But President Biden appears to be afraid of Vladimir Putin. He has said many times, I don't want us to do this. I don't want us to do that because we might provoke him. And he said those words out loud in public, and that's just not a good thing for us. So I think that he's the loser of the week for me. The winner is everybody. It's spring. It's Maine Maple Sunday. How good is that? We have had a tough 2 years, and I think everybody's ready to celebrate. So the winners are the people.
Amen to that. And Ken?
First, I got to congratulate Ray for watching the Gilmore Girls. That's very impressive.
I love them.
And I will remind him that Donald Trump said that Vladimir Putin was brilliant and a genius. So I don't want to go into Joe Biden thing. I say the winners of the week are the same people I said last time we were on, the Ukrainian people. What incredible resilience. I mean, they are halting the incredible barrage of attacks from Russia and actually have made some gains. To hold them at bay for this long is miraculous. Great people, strong people. I applaud them. The loser of the week, I still think is Vladimir Putin. This is going to turn out bad for him. It's not going to turn out good for him. He's going to eventually be taken out by the oligarchy. There's no doubt in my mind. I bet I would wish sooner rather than later. He is the loser. The Ukrainian people remain the winners.
And that's going to do it for Political Brew this week. We thank you for being with us. Thank you for watching as well. We'll see you next time. News Center Maine is back after this.